somebody could just confirm you can see that screen, please, that would be great.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. So, as I've said to you before, standard form is a difficult topic. If you end up doing the foundation paper, it is definitely at the top end of it. And in fact, some of this might even be slightly beyond the foundation paper. But as I've said to you guys before, I don't want to just assume that everyone, just because we're in set 4, is bound to do the foundation paper. Some of you will aspire to get a grade higher than a 5, and some of you might just like the idea of trying your luck on a harder paper where you don't need to get such good marks. So I am trying to make sure that we do, when I think it's accessible, we are covering some of the harder stuff as well. But do hang in there. I do appreciate this is difficult, and certainly that last lesson where you guys were having to change numbers that weren't nearly in standard form to standard form is tricky. That said, some of you did very well on it, so well done. So we've got probably 2 lessons left on standard form. Today we're going to be looking at adding and subtracting numbers which are in standard form, and then that will leave us our final lesson where we multiply and divide numbers in standard form. Now you're going to have to get it clear in your mind. With the multiplying and dividing, the one we're going to do next time, there is a kind of shortcut you can do to help you out. Okay? For today, where you're adding and subtracting, there is no shortcut. You've got to really take your standard form numbers, turn them into normal numbers, add them or subtract them, and then turn it back into a standard form number. So you're going to be doing all the skills that we did 2 lessons ago and 3 lessons ago. So let's just have a look at some examples. So let's just go and do number 1 together. I'll see if I can do it live rather than do one that I prepared earlier. So 2 times 10 to the 4. Okay, so that's going to be a 2. And then because we hop it 4 places, that's going to give us 4 noughts. So 2 times 10 to the 4 is the same as 20,000. Now 3 times 10 to the 3, that's going to have 3 noughts. So line them up and then just good old-fashioned adding in column form, you will see that you get 23,000. Now the questions are going to ask you to give your answer in standard form. So this is going to be going back to the lesson when you had to convert a normal number into a standard form number. So remember what we have to do. The first number's got to be between 1 and 10. So that's going to be 2.3 times 10 to a power. Then how many hops do we do? Well, at the moment, the decimal point's really at the end. We're having to move it to between the 2 and the 3. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4 hops. So your final answer would be 2.3 times 10 to the 4. Now, if you get a question in the Hegarty quiz, which you're going to do shortly, which is like number 2, where you've got the same powers, then that's straightforward. You can just kind of just do that straight away without having to do that working in blue. If you've got 4 times 10 to the 5 and you're adding 2 times 10 to the 5, that's just going to be 4 add 2 is 6. So 6 times 10 to the 5. So if you get any questions where you've got the same power, you don't need to do that bit in blue. But more often than not, most of the questions are going to be like number 1 and 3. So let's just practice number 3. So this is 2 times 10 to the 2. So that's 2, and you add your 2 noughts. Now 1.3 times 10 to the 3. Let's just take our time with this. So we are going to have to jump. Remember, you can just do a working where you just put some noughts in there. We're going to have to jump 3. So we go 1, 2, 3. So the number we actually get there is 1,300. So we're adding 200, add 1,300. So let's just do those. So if we add those, we get 1,500. And then assuming you've got to give your answer in standard form. So remember standard form, the first number is between 1 and 10. Then how many hops have we done? Well, the decimal point is going from the end to between the 1 and the 5. That's 1, 2, 3 hops. So your final answer for part 3 here would be 1.5 times 10 to the 3. So that is how you add numbers in standard form. And when you take away, it's exactly the same process, but of course you take away. So let's just do number 1. So 2 times 10 to the 3 is 2 with 3 noughts after it. 3 times 10 to the 2 is 3 with 2 noughts after it. But of course we're now taking away. So just remember how you do taking away. You've got to borrow when you've got ones like this. So naught take away naught is naught. Naught take away naught is naught. Naught take away 3 you can't do. So you borrow from the 2. That becomes 10. 10 take away 3 is 7. And 1 take away 0 is 1. So we've got a final answer for part 1 of 1,700. But assuming we've got to give our answers in standard form, first number's got to be between 1 and 10. So where would the decimal point go to get it between 1 and 10? It would be 1.7. And then just think about the hops. Decimal point is going from on the end to between the 1 and the 7. 1, 2, 3 hops. So that would be 1.7 times 10 to the 3. Question 2, a bit similar to last time. Look out for the ones where the power is the same. If the power is the same, there's no need to do all those workings. You can literally just say 4 take away 1 is 3. So that's just 3 times 10 to the 5. So you might be lucky in some of your Hegarty questions are like that. You might not be lucky. More likely, they're going to be like number 1 and 3. So let's just do number 3. 2 times 10 to the 4 is just 2 with 4 noughts after it. 1.3 times 10 to the 3. Again, I think I'll just be careful here. It's a big number, so in the workings, put down lots of zeros to hop over. We're going to do 3 hops. 1, 2, 3. So I can see this number is going to have 2 zeros after it. So that's 1,300. So I've got to do 20,000 take away 1,300. Set them up nicely in columns. Naught take away naught is naught. Naught take away naught is naught. Lots of borrowing now. That 1 gives us a 10. Borrow from that 10 becomes a 9. 10 take away 3 is 7. 9 take away 1 is 8. And 1 take away nothing is 1. So just make sure you can remember how just to take away in column format. So our final answer's got to be 18,700, but again in standard form. First number has to be between 1 and 10. Where would the decimal point go to have an answer between 1 and 10? It would go there. So we can see the first part of our answer is going to be 1.87 times 10 to the something. How many hops has the decimal point done? It's going from here to here. That's 1, 2, 3, 4 hops. So your final answer would be 1.87 times 10 to the 4. So, team, please could you go and have a go at Hegarty quiz 127. You can watch Mr. Hegarty's explanation first if you want. To be honest, when I watched it, I think he sort of goes over a few bits a bit quickly. He's sort of I'm not exactly sure I'm necessarily totally in agreement with him on this occasion. Normally I think they're excellent, but I think with standard form I'm not so sure. Anyway, have a look at the video if you want, but what I want you to focus on is attempting the quiz 127, please, just like you're getting used to doing. If you can upload your workings, that's great. That's a bonus. That's the icing on the cake, but you don't need to. As long as I can see you're getting a percentage and you're spending a bit of time on it, that's fine. So what I'm tending to do, if somebody's got 40%, say, but I can see they've spent a long time on it, well, there we go. It's a difficult topic. You've given it your best shot, and that's absolutely fine. If, however, somebody's got 30 or 40%, and I can see they've spent 3 minutes on it, then I think really, you can go back and have another go. So when I'm looking at the percentages that you're getting on Hegarty, I am looking at the bigger picture of how much effort you put into it. So don't get me wrong. I'm not saying I want you to spend hours and hours and hours getting a top mark. I'm not saying that, but I do want you to be spending sort of 20 odd minutes on this, just giving it your best shot, please. So well done, guys. You're working hard. Do I see you tomorrow? I think I do. So I won't. Yes, I do. I see you period 3 tomorrow. So I won't wish you a good weekend yet. So if you could go and do that now, that would be great.